All right, guys, welcome back to another set review, Cosmic Mythos. We're on Rune, joined with the same people as the last video. Precious, thanks for joining us, as well as we have Skaz and Shepard, who are both on my team for Houston and California, top aiding both events. You guys want to say hi, all of you?
Howdy.
Hello.
Excited to get into Rune.
Yep.
My name is Shepard, and I am the person talking right now. My pronouns are spring, green, and protection.
All right. We'll just hop into the first card here. I'm kind of excited for Rune. I think there's some cool stuff here, but also, as always, there's some questionable.
Yeah, I think there's some really, really good cards in Rune.
I think so too.
Really, really well.
I think Rune has like some of my favorite overall design in this set, in that there's a lot of cards that are like mid playable, like might be playable, might not be, or like they're playable, they might be good, they might not be good, but what they are is like just really interesting, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd say also, before we get into this, like this is probably the first set where Rune kind of accelerates to be like a front runner, and it's because of these cards.
Absolutely, yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I think there's one card
so?
that I'm higher on than.
We'll get to it. It's the second card.
There's one card that I'm higher on than you guys. That's a Rune enable. We'll get to towards the end. That I think is what pushes Rune a lot in this set.
I agree with you too, and I know what card you're talking about. And if it's not the right card, I'll be like, oh, I thought we were on the same page, but I guess not. All right, We'll just hop into the first card here. World Wielder Ginger, 7 drop 4/4, Evo for 2. Fanfare, you may put a follower from your hand onto the field. Do not activate this fanfare effect. It can't attack this turn. Second card, or the Evo form, is on evolve, you may put any number of followers from your hand onto your field. Do not activate their fanfare effects. They can't attack this turn. All right, let me set the stage for you. All right? You're in a tough spot, and you top deck Ginger, and you're like, oh no, this card's not too good. Then you look at your hand, you're like, wait, I have 3 Lucifers in my hand.
3 Lucifers.
And you slam Ginger down and Evo her. And then you play 3 Lucifers to the board and look at your opponent and tell him to get screwed. All right? All right, that's my pitch for this card. Would you guys like to talk about it more?
Well, it's actually funny because at first we were trying to figure out what does this card even do. And then Cass and I found this JP deck that we tested a few games with that's all in on the Fallen Angel package plus this card.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, actually this looks like it's going to play better than I thought this card would ever play. And I was wrong. That deck played horribly. It didn't even play like a fun, cheesy deck. This card, I did not very high on this card. I don't know what's coming in the future because I don't know future sets this much. This is a card that I think will likely go up in power as the card pool expands, because you never know when they're going to print like the busted 2-card combo. But as it is, it's just not effective enough.
Yeah, it's pretty true that like the best target seems to be Lucifer so far, and that's just not even that good of an upside. Keep in mind, you can't drop 3 Lucifers and evolve any of them. Like you can't even like be like, oh cool, I'll burn you for 12. Like you're only gonna get the healing. The best thing you can do to actually get the Evo on the Lucifer would be to not Evo this and just drop the first one, and then Evo that if you really needed to. I don't know. This card, it's got a lot going on, but not a lot going on at the same time.
Yeah,
it's very restrictive.
I want to add the other card to drop in addition to like Lucifer, Israfil is Angel of Chaos to then steal one of your opponent's followers. But the problem is like Israfil, you drop it and you're like, yeah, I have an Israfil, but all the good text on Israfil comes when you swing with it.
You can still Evo the Israfil and swing with it, technically.
You can't.
You can't attack this turn.
You can't attack this turn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, there's no.
Cut that from the record.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this card is really weak and it's really slow because, this is one of those cards where you can be like, oh, well, maybe down the line it'll be good. But as we get further down in sets, the power level just keeps rising, and that means shorter games. So we're not seeing turn 9, turn 8 with an Evo point. Like it's just not happening, and it's not even good enough effect. So it's just like a really unplayable card. Zodiac Demon is another card that you can play with it that is actually not too bad either.
Yeah, I think you guys kind of covered everything. I wonder when they first designed this card for physical, I bet you it was initially broken because it was like cost less. The Evo was probably only 1, and it was probably like maybe like a 6 play point follower or something. And then it was really egregious in their playtesting that they just nerfed it by making it harder to play out. And because of that, like this card in the future, maybe eventually at some point there'd be some meta where this card becomes like amazing. But if you're gonna make this card work, it is probably like right now or never. But it's probably not very good overall, right? All right.
I think that's all there is really to say about it.
All right. Next card here. Shepard.
All right, next up we got Giant Chimera. It is a 7 play point 7/7 and on Fanfare, it essentially has Spell Chain 10, deal 5, Spell Chain 20, deal 10, Spell Chain 30, deal 30. So this is the win con. This is the big payoff for the deck named after this card, the Chimera Rune deck, where essentially you play your entire deck, and the way you get Spell Chain 30 is you put this card on the bottom of your deck with the new neutral card, Fate's Hand.
That's not what this card
Sorry, that's not the name of the card. Mystic Ring.
Yeah, Mystic
Fate's
Ring.
Hand is a set 1 card. You Mystic Ring to put this card on the bottom of your deck. You run through your entire deck and you play Daria, putting this card into the EX zone, and now your entire graveyard is going to be considered for your spell chain, and you put it into play and you 30 your opponent. Having tested this just a little bit, I'm biased because I played a lot against Ramp Dragon and Haven. And the really awkward thing is that both of those decks are healing so much that deal 30 actually doesn't get there. You have to be pretty on time to get there with it.
Yeah, I think this is the most fraudulent card I think we might have seen so far in the history of the game. I think this card is absolute garbage. That's my hot take. I think this is not in any way a good card or deck. Like you just explained the process of having to get to 30, it's never happening. If your game plan is getting to 20 and then just going, hey, I have like this huge bomb that I can board clear stuff and I have other stuff to do, then I could maybe see it. But you're never getting to 30 in most cases. And if you're playing against like a playable, deck in a relative time. And I don't know. I think this card is terrible.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The Japanese meta played a ton of this, right?
No, it was the Southeast Asia meta.
Southeast Asia meta played a lot of this?
That's the differences.
No. I looked up the data for Japan, and this was the 4th strongest deck in winning overall. And
That's what I was going to say. This deck was
like the. I mean, I assume you're talking about Dexander, right, or whatever.
That
doesn't have all the.
We're talking. We pulled everything from Twitter and pulled data from Twitter.
So what I have is I have a big Google Drive that these guys have access to that has every single deck that was published on Twitter in a top 8 during set 4 meta. And that's where a lot of like the assumptions about that meta come from, because although those aren't big tournaments, right? A lot of those might be locals, like smaller regionals, whatever. Rune shows up a lot, and it's pretty consistently in almost every top 4, and it's always Chimera Rune.
I've also watched a lot of Japanese videos on Chimera Rune because I was most interested in this deck because it looked like the most fun, but also for some weird reason when we first initially looked at the data, Chimera Rune was actually up there. It was like I said, I think it was the 4th most like winning deck basically from Twitter. And when I watched some of the videos, like honestly, some of the games, depending on like how Rune rolls into the game, they are hitting you for 30 around turn 8, maybe turn 9, like fairly consistently. So, but I mean, obviously you guys have more playtesting into this a little bit with the healing and stuff. I have not playtested. I only mostly watched the videos on Rune Chimera because I thought it was very interesting. And it seemed very consistent at doing what it wants to do overall and like kind of controlling the board for as much time as it can until it can just drop this Chimera to win. But then it does have those issues too, like kind of Pressure alluded as well, though, that sometimes like your opponent heals for like 5 and then suddenly like Chimera is not going to get you there because you're no longer in range to just like drop this for 30, or there's too much pressure on the Rune player to be able to get to 30. And then they just kind of like fizzle out. And even though they're like at the door of winning, basically, they're right there, just one more like turn, and they just kind of just fizzle out and lose the game from there. That's from what I've seen overall for this deck.
That's actually a pretty accurate assumption where I think both you and Prussia are correct. Like your opponent will heal out of range on some strategies, but the other side is that it is very consistent. Like with all the new tools that Rune has, this is consistently happening on like turn 8 or so. The other side is that compared to something even like D Shift, this is really inflexible. Like D Shift, you always had the option to do like a D Shift to buy a turn to get you to your next D Shift, or playing like in set 1 like a Mithril Golem, just all these other things. In this deck, because to hit spell chain 30 you have to go Daria Chimera, you can't play a second Chimera, you can't like angle your turns differently, which just makes it really fragile.
All this to say, this is actually not technically the deck discussion. This is the card discussion, even though this is like kind of the key piece of that deck. Let's just say this card is going to be an important player in a very, like, I guess in this case, controversial or talked about or like probably well represented deck. Keep an eye out for it. You should know what this card does at the very least. If you're a Rune player, probably want to build around this, probably have some fun with it. It's an exciting tool no matter what. And let's just say it is either the best card or the worst card, depending on how you come at this, and depending on what matchups you're playing into. Because I'd imagine there's some matchups that will sit down across from this deck and go, I'm on a clock and I can't kill them in time, and this feels awful. And in other matchups, it's going to feel really good. So we'll see.
I think that's a good take. I think that's a good take.
I think at the end of the day, no matter what happens, Giant Chimera is going to be a locals killer. And then right now we're all questioning whether it's going to be a regional winner. That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
I mean, it still doesn't matter as well, though, because there's no real regionals.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I do think
the hypothetical, if there were. Actually, there are some regionals that are going to be played on set 4.
There are.
Yeah, they're
team. Yeah, they're still team. But
the takeaway that you should have if you come to the Rune set review and you want to learn what Rune cards to play is that if you're playing Rune in set 4, play this card. Like, this is probably like I just don't see another option for Rune.
At the very least, you should test it. Like, at the end of the day, just test it and figure it out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's it.
I still feel like with the other support, just normal D Shift is better than this deck, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess time will tell.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah. Next card.
Next up is Star Reader Stella. I know we just got done talking about Chimera, but I'm just going to put it out there. This is the coolest card in the set.
I agree. This is one of my favorite cards.
Oh, Shinko Windy fan.
Hell yeah.
This card is
This is a mega Shinko Windy.
This card has so much text on it. Anyway, it's a 3-mana 3/3, so it's already a good rate. Strike, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it in your cemetery, so when this thing attacks, it's going to be filtering your deck. And here's the cool part. Fanfare. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may put a card from among them into your hand. If you do, put another card from among them into your cemetery, put another one on top of your deck, and put the last card on the bottom of your deck. So you're basically looking at the top 4 cards and filtering them to all these different zones. 1 to hand, 1 to the yard, 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom. Card's so sweet. Love this.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite cards ever printed in Shadowverse in terms of just how good it feels to play, how the decision space, in terms of its power level, I don't think it's actually I don't think it's busted. I think it's exactly playable. I think it's exactly the minimum threshold good enough that you will put it in some of your Rune decks. It does a lot for you. It puts a spell chain in the bin. It's a body that can come up the board. It can put a Chimera, if you're lucky, on the bottom of your deck, so you're not Mystic Ringing it. You just have a lot of options. It's fine.
Yeah, I should clarify. I don't think this card is super powerful by any means, but I think it's playable. It just is doing cool things, and I like cards that do cool things.
Exactly, it's playable, but man, do I want to play it.
True.
Yeah, it's Sorcery Cash on a body. Sorcery Cash is a pretty good card, but it's good because it's a spell card. So I don't think this card is good, really at all. Because I mean, when you're playing too many followers, you basically have to play Daria in a Giant Chimera deck, and I don't know, I'd rather just play Sorcery Cash and not mess around with this card.
I think the Daria decks are already running Daria, or the Chimera decks are already running Daria.
Yeah, because my issue I ran into when I was trying to figure out other ways to go off meta, I was exploring a ton of different Rune decks, was that to build a Rune deck that has the power level you need to get to turn 8, you just can't run only 10 followers, right? Because you want to fit in Merlins and Agneses and Penguins and some of the other followers that are coming up. and you just hit this threshold where you're like, I think it is just better to jam the Daria, and then you get to access like the good cards, and then in addition to the good cards, you get to access some of the mediocre cards like Stella.
Yeah. I agree. Like it just seems like they want to print. It's just weird. There's this weird dichotomy where you want to be a spell chain deck, but also they're pushing a lot of these followers, and so you're just always forced into this weird Daria stuff going on. And I think right now in this meta, like Daria decks are just going to be generally powerful because they're obviously trying to push more some kind of like follower base instead of having just nothing but spells all the time and having something to interact with your opponent with. And personally, I really like that. I like when Rune is able to play more followers that do cool things like Stella here, and then still have the same payoff with like spell chain ending up in Daria. Because once again, Daria is like fan favorite of a lot of players from Shadowverse. It's like the number one waifu for a lot of people, I feel like. I don't know. I just, overall personally like it, everything about this card. So
yeah, and sorry, there's just like one last note I want to say. I don't want to drone on about this forever. Is that playing followers like this helps alleviate some of the chimera problems we mentioned earlier, because one, your opponent having to actually spend their play points to deal with your followers while you're also setting up your combo turn feels really good. So like you play this and now they have to like care about it. And the other thing is that it chips away at some of that healing that a lot of decks are going to incidentally do, where you're just like, all right, I will fight back against your Olivias because I was able to get this 3 chip damage in here or this 2 chip damage in there.
yeah, and just one little last thing to add on before we move to the next card too is just like this has the strike effect also is very good. So if they ignore this card, you get to fill up your bin quicker, which means you're going to turn on your Chimera quicker or whatever spell chain you're planning to do with Daria in that sense. Or even if this is in just a normal spell chain list, like it's just good overall.
A quick play tip is this card looks like, oh, look at the top card of your deck, and if it's good, keep it on top. But actually, this card is just always almost always put it in the graveyard unless you like need it next turn because you're trying to turbo.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here.
Alrighty, Europa, 2 mana, 1/3, evolve for 2. Fanfare, select a face-up Europa in your Evo deck, flip it face down, give this follower +1/+1, and then on evolve, it gains +2/+2 and has Storm, Ward, and Bane. This is the true winner of Runecraft. I think this is one of the best Rune cards they've printed in a while. It obviously doesn't go with Spell Boost or anything like that, but in basically every other deck, this is just, you could just throw this as a 3-up and then 1 thing in the Evo deck, and it's just a really strong, like, basic, simple card that doesn't have any strings attached. Like, it's just, okay, here's my basically 4 mana, 3/5 Ward, Storm, Bane, and then after I play the first one, the second one becomes a 4 mana, 4/6 Storm, Ward, Bane, and that's just a really, really strong card, and it sees a really good amount of play for the next couple sets, but then it kind of falls off just because the power level gets really high. But I think for the next 3 or 4 sets, this is going to be a really relevant card for Rune.
Yeah, card seems sweet. Like, just does a lot of good things. I like the fact that you can get by just putting 1 copy of the Evo in your Evo deck, so it doesn't take up a lot of Evo slots. For only 4 mana, this is doing a lot. I think this card's great.
Yeah. I agree. This card is interesting because it is so not a card that goes with any of the Rune synergies.
No, not at all.
But it has so much raw power that you're gonna see it. And the quick play tip here is you only have to put 1 of the Evos in your Evo deck.
Yeah.
It always flips itself back down. I've seen people put 2 in their Evo deck, and I'm like, you should read the card, man.
Yep, reading the card explains the card. That I 100% agree. It just has every one of those key texts there is just very good. What sold me on the card even more was the fact that it only takes 1 Evo slot if you're playing this card. So like this is definitely a card worth messing around with in whatever build you're trying to do. Overall card's very good. And also once it gets the +1/+1, it starts getting out of range of like conflag and things like that. Like once you hit that 6 health range on a body, that's when it becomes more awkward for people to deal with.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yep.
Also worth mentioning that this is going to be synergizing well with, like, we say it's like not very common that Rune does things like this, but it does have a decent amount of storm pressures in it, like Felice and the Runeblade Summoner, I think is the other one.
Yeah.
Like
from the TD, yeah.
Yeah, so there are some pretty aggressively like storm based strategies within Rune. So I could see this being sort of just like an not aggro shell, but like kind of a storm shell at some point. Yeah, card's great. Nothing more really to say.
Yeah. All right, next card here. Chain of Calling. It's a quick 4/2. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may reveal a Runecraft follower from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then spell chain 10, recover 1 play point. I really, really like this card. Once again, like they're kind of pushing for you to play more followers in Rune, and I feel like this is the set where you start getting like even better followers to like that are worth playing, like Stella and like Chimera for going for that route. So the fact that we have this that can like sure up some of those situations where I know when I've played D-Shift before, I'm like, cool, I have my D-Shift, I'm ready to go off, but no followers because they're all on the bottom of my deck, and there's no way for me to like turbo through my deck to find more followers to start signing to the board. This kind of fixes that. The fact that you get 1 play point back too is just like a little, cherry on top here overall. But yeah, I really like this card. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think this card is really, really strong. Especially when later on we get more like just spell boost type decks that have followers in them that aren't Giant Chimera. But I feel like you can't really play this card in Chimera, right? Because if your whole plan is to put stuff at the bottom, and then I guess you do this, then you Mystic Ring. I don't know. It just feels like that deck just feels like it's super awkward. I don't know.
It comes down to like you being able to set up your bottom of your deck any way you want, and even if you do more, you got to still turbo to the point where you can Dario and flip over the Chimera. So like this just like gets you 4 cards deeper or 5 or whatever to hitting the Chimera when you need it, which is really good.
But the thing is like the minute you Mystic Ring, you can't play this card.
So I have 2 points to make about this card, which is that I hear you about the Mystic Ring. A big skill point of the deck is timing when you play these different effects, but the reason why this is good in Chimera Rune, outside of just the fact that this is a powerful card on its face, like this is a really strong effect, you get to dig, you get to find the thing you need, is that 1, your plan is to run through your entire deck. So this is honestly reminds me of some classic like original Vanguard Oracle Think Tank, where if you play 2 of these and you know the bottom 10 cards of your deck, you're going to see those. And you can do things like play an early Daria because you know that the thing you need is your 8th card down, which I think is actually relevant in this deck. And the other part is that if Chimera is in that top 5, you can just use this to bottom a Chimera.
Yeah. It adds so much knowledge to yourself without letting your opponent know crap. And then the fact that if you're good at memorizing the order of cards in the bottom of your deck or where things are generally are, you can play around that very well and get and squeeze out like extra value that way, which I think is really important for the deck.
Well, I
guess
kind of
can't do that. You shouldn't play this deck, to be honest. Like if you're a player that struggles with memory issues, I would avoid playing Chimera Rune.
I guess what I'm saying is that, so you say, like, oh well, if Chimera's the 8th card or whatever, but if there's 8 cards left in your deck, you don't have 30 in the bin unless you have.
No, I'm not saying Chimera. I'm saying like let's say Chimera is your bottom card, but let's say your 8th card is the 3rd removal spell you need or the Merlin you need or whatever. You play 3 Darias in your deck. You can Daria when you're at 13 cards to get to that 8th card that you need, right? Like you just have more. You have access to a lot more information that's relevant because unlike a lot of decks, you're gonna see the bottom 10 cards of your deck. And also your runes. So if you get to a point where you don't want to mess with your deck, you have like infinite ways to discard this card for value.
Yeah, I think this card's really good. I guess I'm just more questioning it in the deck that is being played right now, but I don't know.
That's fair.
Skaz, anything to add or we can move on?
Card's cool.
Nice. I agree.
All right. So
Big
next up is
here.
card.
All right, we really quick. Noble Instruction. This is the what are we going with? This is the Furin extra card they added. Furin Beyond Journey's End collab card. Here's the art for it. All right, now you can move on.
All right, next up, this is a card we're going to have to spend a lot of time talking about because that's really important, is Freshman Lou. It's a 2 play point 1/2, and it says, Fanfare, search your spell for a deck that costs 1 play point. Search your deck for a spell that costs 1 play point added to your hand. I was joking, of course, about this card.
Okay.
Okay, so the next card
For the
is
record,
Magic Illusion.
This card is this card's not. You just don't want to do this. It's not that the effect is actually that bad. Like you can, there's enough 1 play point spells in this game that eventually there's a meta where you would potentially want to put in this deck. The real problem with this card is that the stat line is just so bad that it's abysmal. It's not an effect you want to pay. You wouldn't want to pay 2 mana for the Fanfare effect, and then the fact that all you get for paying 2 mana is a 1/2 is just asking too much. Like this isn't even worth talking about.
I mean, I agree. I think that if the stats are better, this might be more playable. If this was like a one cost, very playable. I would like it. But we're talking hypotheticals that aren't reality. This card is not very good. Currently, the only things you can hit with it are like Mystic Ring, Blitz, Winged Inversion, Lamplit, Magical Strategy, Insight, Conjure Golem, Wind Blast, Angelic Snipe, and Angelic Barrage. It's not like any of these are highly necessary combo pieces, except for maybe Mystic Ring. So there's like maybe an argument that you play this in a Chimera deck or something, but like you're better off just playing maybe more copies of Mystic Ring. I don't know.
Yeah, every
card just
other
isn't good.
card in your deck searches and tutors and
Yeah,
looks at the top cards.
This card is not it. Just
All right.
put something else in your
I
deck.
feel like I don't know. I feel like in this Daria Giant Chimera deck, this card's. I guess there just isn't enough room though.
There's no space. This is like the 48th card that you would put in that deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would play a lot of cards before this, but you guys are forgetting one thing.
Cycles, or it goes through 2 cards in your deck. Like that's really good. Like
It does
if you
pull
go
out 2
like,
cards. I just wish this
like-
was 1 mana.
I would rather play if you're not on I'd rather play like Craig or Witch of Sweets if I could over this card a lot
Witch
of
of
the time.
Sweets? Oh my god, that's terrible. No way.
I would rather. I think
Witch
Witch of Sweets is better than this card.
I think I would
I
agree.
think Witch of Sweets is better than this card too. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
lot.
okay, I don't know. Because like I said, I feel like it's 1/2. It's basically Fate's Hand, but it's on a 1/2 body.
It's a
Like, I
fate
feel
hand
like
that
that's pretty
always
good.
draws you a bad card.
No, but the card you draw is Insight. Because you don't care about what cards you're drawing, because you're just trying to mill through your deck. Because you draw Insight, you play Insight, or you keep it or whatever, and it's you got the Insight from your deck, and then you played Insight, so you drew another card. It's 2 cards down, because you don't care about what specific cards you're drawing. You're just trying to get through your deck, right? And then it's 1/2 body, and it's for Daria and shit. You don't care about it not being a spell.
So I'm gonna tell you right now why that's pretty bad. I guess maybe if you play this literally on turn 2, like it's okay. The problem with the deck a lot of times too is you got to be very careful. If you search, you have to make sure it's important for you to search here.
True.
Because you have to set up the bottom of your deck, so you can't search anytime you want. So like if on curve, okay, maybe this is all right, but anytime after that, you're just like, I just literally want to kill myself right now.
Yeah, the only search effect that you want to play typically is Merlin, and that's because that card is just busted.
Yeah,
Just like if any card that doesn't have enough raw power just isn't worth it.
yeah. Unlike Merlin builds, at least gets you gas for your hand, but this card, I'm not a big fan of it. All right, but what I was going to say earlier was you guys are forgetting the most important format, Open 8. How many 1-drops do we get a search after
true.
this?
Ooh.
This could be an Open 8 All-Star, but we're not going to look into that information.
I was gonna say, what spells would you even get in Open 8? You could get like Mystic Ring and
No, dude, you get your
that's it.
Hell
you
yeah.
get your 1 mana dragon spell. It's like turn 8.
You can get the other. Yeah, it's true. You can get other factions. Now,
Yeah.
right?
You get Dark Offering, and then you Dark Offering your Freshman Lou.
Well, it wouldn't be in Open 8 because isn't that only like?
It's only
okay.
this set, yeah. Okay, next card, we're wasting too much time.
Sorry, we haven't gotten to the Open 8 meta on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next up is Magic Illusionist. He's a 2 mana 2/2 with Evolve for 2. Last words, Earthright. Put this card onto your field. So basically, it replaces itself with itself. If you have like Earthright stuff, so it makes him sticky and hard to remove. And also, when you evolve him, he has last words, Earthright, the same thing. Put this card onto your field, and he's a 4/4. So this card, dare I say, is not very good. In my opinion, anyways. I feel like you don't want to be wasting your stacks on this. But that being said, like his evoed form being a 4/4, just a rules question because I'm not 100% sure. If he's evoed and he brings himself back, does he stay evoed or does he go back to his base form?
No, I just.
I believe it's his base form because
Yeah, I
for
think
last
it's
rights to
his
trigger, he has to touch the discard, right?
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay, I
I
just
think
want to
it's-
make sure.
I think it works that way because
And like
I
no
think
other
it's the
card
same.
that is like this works that way. Like Barbarossa Evo doesn't put like the Evo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
in that case, this card's even worse than I thought it was. I don't think I would ever play this
Okay.
card.
With that being said, this is the thing I was going to ask you about, Pressure. I heard a little bird in my ear chirp saying this card was kind of busted in digital for a while.
Oh yeah, this is. I was gonna say I didn't want to bring it up, but yeah, this is
I'll
like
bring
this
it up
is
for you.
this is one of the most iconic dirt cards for sure. This is just because back then fighters were 2/2, they weren't 2/3, and so just being a fully sad guy that you basically couldn't kill, really strong. Yeah, I think that just in this game, like we started out with he has a 3-mana 4/6 if you
Yeah.
eat dirt, and so I think this is just like not that good a recurring 2/2. It's just not good enough anymore because we got so much good earth stuff or earth right stuff from jump, and that's not how it worked in digital. But yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's much more to say about this.
Yep. Well, moving on.
All right.
I concur. I want to say one thing.
I concur. All right, concentration, 3 mana, give your leader +3 health and draw a card. Earthright, draw 2 instead. This is another really strong, just basic spell boost card. A lot of decks in the future play it because you need to heal and you need to draw because that's what we like to do. But healing is really important later on, and it's just nice. It's like one of, obviously, can be used on the Merlin Evo as well. So that's a nice thing. Just a good card. Just a good card.
So I just want to point something out that I think is interesting. That I'm not sure how sold I am on it, but in Japan, this card was played a lot in decks with 0 ways to trigger the Earthright.
Yeah, you don't
You
trigger
just
the Earthright.
you just play it as
The
as heal
healing
to
was
draw a card.
infinitely more important.
And
the
I
fact that it
assume that
replaced
that's
itself.
because of Uma was so much more present, right?
Well, it's just because like, I mean, I'm more thinking about like later decks like set 6 and stuff. Like people played this just because. Yeah,
I'm talking about
healing
set 4
threes.
meta in
Yeah,
Japan.
yeah,
This was like really commonly at least a one of in a lot of the Chimera decks, which I will say that is a good strength of when you play, Penguin, Merlin, etc. You can put this as a one of and get your value off of it when you need it.
I think
But-
one thing too, which might have like escalated this card being played a lot more during this meta as well. I could be completely wrong and talking out of my ass here, but it feels like whenever I looked at all the JP stuff going on, a lot of it felt like the game was very mid-range to late game centric now again, where there's not too many decks running around with such crazy early game aggression, which means you'll have gap turns randomly where you don't really have anything to do, and just like being able to just like use concentrate, heal 3, draw a card, and just pass your opponent on 3 just probably feels very good. It gives you a way to like filter hand, create more in your bin and stuff. And then healing is always good. I think healing is going to be really strong for the next couple metas. But yeah,
I would have to test it more. I don't see myself putting more than one of these in a set 4 Chimera deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't think you play more than one anyway. In general, I've never seen like 2 of them.
Yeah, if you play one, you're out of
Just like
triple
a
forte range. So
It's just like a tech option. I will say I think like another aspect is like egg is expected to be pretty well represented next set, and being able to heal like basically a Humpty Dumpty is like kind of nice.
Yeah, this undoes an egg.
Yeah.
Something that is kind of an interesting interaction. I'm surprised this never showed up, but then again, I'm not a Rune player, so I'm not going to say I know anything. But this actually synergizes really well with Gingerbread House. Gingerbread House being the 1 mana stack amulet.
Yeah.
It's just like get a stack, heal for 3, so that you can eventually cash this in to draw, or cash that in to draw an extra card off of this, giving you like actually a decent amount of healing in a Rune deck. So I'd be not surprised to see some of that crop up, like concentration plus Gingerbread House just jammed into any Rune deck pretty much. Seems good.
Yeah.
A lot of healing.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're playing Gingerbread House or any other of the stack cards, whether it's Earthright as a package or Earthright as a full deck, like that makes this card kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. All right. And really quick, here is the Death Note version of the card. All right, next card. All right, Dazzling Healer, 2-drop, 2/2. We're on to the bronzes here. Evolve for 1, Fanfare. If there is a spell in your cemetery, give your leader +2. Evo becomes a 3/3, and then spell chain 5 on Evo, give your leader +2. I like this card. It's like okay. I don't know if I would play much of it at all, but it's just like 4 heal basically on a body. I don't know if there's really room to be playing this Evo though, but I wouldn't be like totally opposed to trying this card out. What do you guys say?
Spending only 3 mana to heal pretty consistently, heal 4 seems not bad. Maybe it's just my heal bias here, but like that's like pretty good rate for any like low cost heal. Like normally when you're seeing 4+ healing, you're looking at something that's costing you probably like 5+ mana. So to see this so cheap is actually kind of surprising. It's not even like its stats are that bad.
The trade-off is that it's actually harder to get the second heal than you think because of the way your deck construction is when you put this into your deck, because you're playing Rune. So like the first 12 followers more or less are like always locked in, right? So then this is your, you play this and now you're somewhere like in the 15 to 20 follower range. And it's just the constant awkward strain of cards like this, Runeblade Summoner, whatever, where it's like, it's such a good value card, but if you're putting all the things to make spell chain work, you want to be spell chaining to win the game, not to get like this incidental value or this tempo. And it just is not going to play well on curve at all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this card's good, but it's interesting.
It's definitely an interesting card. Yeah.
Might be some hidden potential there.
Yeah, I feel like I saw a couple lists in the JP list that I ran through really quickly. They all had it kind of like as a one of randomly, which I guess kind of makes sense being Spellchain 5 and all that. But yep.
Yeah, I think in this meta, just generally, it depending on how much burn there actually ends up being. Like if everybody's on Andromeda Egghaven now, you're probably just going to want to pick like for whatever deck you're playing. Like here's my healing suite, and this is just one part of your toolbox if you want to try it. I'm personally going to avoid it, but it is an option.
Yeah. All right, next card here.
All right, we got Mage of Nightfall. It's a 3 point 3/3 with Intimidate, and it has Fanfare, Earthright. Give this follower +2/+1. Intimidate obviously is a very powerful keyword. It is interesting that this is kind of our version of the 3 mana 4/6 going into set 4, right? And I think like just evaluating it off of the stats is a little hard for me because while it is a 5/4 is a reasonable threat, it's not out of the range of a lot of the removal spells that are going to target it. I think this card is going to be played in some decks that I'm going to be very mad that I lose to.
That's like, a good way to put it.
Like this is like a card that I don't think is necessarily like, I think when you get it off and you do it, like it's good. It is a powerful effect, but it's relying on your opponent to not have an answer. And it's also the series of steps to put this into play doesn't demand that they would have spent that answer earlier. So they're, if they have their removal spell, whatever, you're just going to be so frustrated, especially with like a million forest decks running around. These cards that are like Earthright get bigger just get worse and worse as if they're just getting Rose Guarded back to hand or Lilied, etc.
Yeah. I'd like to say too, like this is the type of card where if you can read the meta very well and you know that this card would be really hard for like 90% of the room to remove, then it's probably worth playing if you're playing like Earthright or something. But then other times you have to be, aware of what everyone else is on and make the conscious decision. Like, actually, is this even worth playing, or should I be playing something else that's going to impact the game more? That's like one of the big reasons. Like during the Uma meta, I was super high on Sand Sky in all my runs and everything, because once I got Sand Sky out of range of like almost all removal, people were just taking 9s from that card and then scooping. So like if you can make that call, this card could be really busted, but you just have to be quite aware of what is being played in your meta.
Yeah, my favorite part about this card is that you cannot Dragon Warrior it, which is just so satisfying.
However, it does die to Angel of Darkness. So you gotta be careful with these.
Yeah, it is an Israfil range, so
true.
Yeah, I think this card's I think this, like, the more I think about it, I think this card's actually really good, because Dragon can deal with it, but it's like only Serpent's Wrath, right? Like assuming you get it on curve.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon can deal with it, only Serpent's Wrath.
I mean, joke aside, literally everyone has access to Angel of Darkness, and it did see a lot of play in JP, and that's a 3-drop.
So every deck can beat this.
Every deck can answer this. It just depends on if they're running it or not.
Every deck could
But,
actually
like,
play
realistically,
Execution
but
to.
realistically,
it's not even a joke. Like Angel of Darkness is a card that sees a lot of play.
Yeah,
like, it is a good card.
It is a fair point. This is such a pressure card. I mean that with a lot of love, you know. Where it's just like, here's your thing, you put it into play. It's got a lot of.
It does make me want to try Earthright.
It's such a pressure card because it's just like, all right, here's my brick. I just put it into play, and it's really powerful. And
Like you guys are playing Chimera.
no. I mean brick is in like you love these cards, like that one we talked about earlier. That was just the keyword soup rune card. Like I love it for you, where you're just like, all right, yeah, heck yeah, intimidate.
That's not a brick.
Let's go.
I mean, that's a pretty fat brick. Someone throws.
I mean, a 4/6 is pretty bricky.
Someone throws a Europa through my window.
Oh, you mean like brick is in just like
hitting someone over the head?
Oh, I don't
with a
mean
brick
is in like a dead card. Sorry, I mean brick is in like.
I
mean brick is in like Superman, like a flying brick, you know, like hits like a brick.
I thought you meant brick is in it's bad at the hair.
No.
All I can imagine right now is we hit turn 3, Pressure pulls a brick out of his backpack and starts beating his opponent to death. Like,
so hey, what's up, guys?
Nightfall's pretty good.
What's up, guys? It's Kid here, giving the tournament report for our team regional. So we were able to win the finals thanks to Prussia's patented brick technique. Throwing it out for the win.
Everyone's bringing glass decks. He's bringing a bag of bricks.
Yeah, unfortunately, that video is going to have a fundraiser attached to it to get Prussia out of jail.
The judges just tried to stop him, but what they failed to realize was that he had more bricks for them.
He also had Intimidate. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to play the deck where you go like, you know, stack card on turn 1, Crafty Warlock on turn 2, this on turn 3, Felice on turn 4, and you're just doing it, you know?
Yeah, cards like this, like Felice and like this card, are cards where I'm like, man, is there a hybrid Earthright like spell chain deck out there that's like super hype, that's just like playing on curve nonstop to win the game? It always makes me want to tinker more with that, but I'm also really lazy when it comes to deck building in Rune.
Then if this card doesn't die, you just go like Pascal Buffett. It's a 7/6 now.
Yeah,
I don't know. This card's kind of sick.
Like this card, like I don't know if the deck that this card goes in is good, but like I said, like this is going to be a card that I'm going to lose to and be just like so upset about it, you know.
In all fairness, there was a couple of rogue dirt rune lists at the Houston regional that were doing quite well. I think they ended up getting like top 3 or something. So yeah. There may be a shell out there that's just unexplored by other metas, and you know, maybe it may show up here.
I mean, Dirt Rune always has the threat of just being like, I'm just going to play a bunch of really well-statted things vaguely on curve.
Hey, as long as Ancient Alchemists exists, like, there's always a threat of that deck being decent.
Yeah, and I gotta bring up too, like, even though we keep referencing JP meta and stuff, we're just working with what we have and what playtesting we have. Our meta is completely different compared to Japan. Totally. So, like, you know, don't always take what Japan did as fact and like the holy Bible of what the meta is going to be. Things will change definitely because of the restrictions we have here, and just the way that Westerners play card games is sometimes completely different.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Because in Japan, almost nobody played Sword, but also I feel like that's been the case for previous sets as well. And like in America, people love Sword. Like, and if people are playing their like Sword decks and you have this card, oh, they pretty much have to have Amelia or Tokai Teo. Otherwise, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you that I reject a lot of JP meta.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like this is
as the best Haven player in North America.
I wish that were true. But yeah, anyways, Astrologist of the Mist is our next card. It's a 5-mana 5/5 with Ward and Fanfare Earthright. Give +1/+1 to each follower on your field.
Whoa.
So this gives the last card. This gives the last card +1/+1, right?
Age of Nightfall gets huge.
Wait,
so it gives itself. So it's a 6/6.
It's a 6/6, yeah.
Yeah, technically.
It's a 6/6
right now.
Earthright's got some gas, you know.
Keep in mind, Earthright decks do tend to put a lot of like random golems and stuff into play, so this does generally have a decent number of targets. I guess it depends on what you're playing against and if they have enough board wipes or whatever. But I'm not personally too high on cards that come down on the board and don't like this does immediately do something, but it doesn't like hit face. It doesn't remove anything. It doesn't affect the board in any way, which I generally am pretty negative on, especially for the 5-mana slot. Like cards like Felice or Mithril Golem, I know they're not 5 mana, but like they're coming down and affecting the board in a big way and are in kind of packages that might be similar to this, mainly Felice, less Mithril Golem. But like this doesn't really do that for me, and I'm not sure if I'm really high on this card.
I actually disagree with you on that, only because of what this card is gonna like. If you put this in your deck, the 5-drop slot in Dirt Rune has always been things that are like not necessarily affecting the board that much, or they're like you're playing like Juno Seeker Lab or whatever. And I think the fact that this has ward lets you get away with it, because you get a 6/6 ward and you pump your board, and then the 6/6 is now protecting all the stuff you swung in with.
Yeah, I played a lot literally in set 1. What was that one, Sage General or something? I don't know if any of you guys can remember. In Sword, I played that card a lot in my Sword list in set 1, and it was a card that was always just like mediocre at best. And sometimes like you play it on 5 because your opponent didn't answer your board, and your board is now like swinging for game, which is okay. Which I see, at least from my experience of playing into Dirt Rune. I don't really play Dirt Rune a lot. But like they kind of tempo out everything, have good static guys out, and if you like on turn 4 can't answer most of their board, this coming on 5 seems like game crushing, and you've just lost the game. The difference though is that it has the keyword ward, which the Sage Commander or whatever did not, and the fact that it has ward seems like super huge to me compared to the other one. So I could see this card doing very well. It just really depends on how well all the Earthright stuff is going on for it.
It also depends on how much the ward matters, because the set is everything is so like mid-range value-y. I'm also, this card is going to be a brick against decks that are trying to like swing into it. And I called this out on some of the cards in our previous set reviews. 6 is a great toughness to be at, because you're just out of the range of every damage-based removal. They have to swing into it at least with one thing.
I do just want to not come out of this discussion us selling this card too hard.
This card's not that good.
I think there's going to be so many cases where you're going to play this and then your opponent's going to untap and like Rico blow this thing up, blow up something else, or Themis, or just a handful of things that just make you wish you had done something else that turn that actually had a lasting impact on the game, either in lowering the size of their board, dealing damage to face, or healing yourself or something. I don't think this is going to do enough when you play it.
This card is specifically, I think, actually really good into Forest. Because, like, they Lily it, they Rose Gardener it, whatever, but you got, like, the value of making this incidental board. They can't really Cassiopeia in response because they're just never going to have the damage to kill it, plus, like, the 2 golems you pumped. Assuming you can, like, pump some things with it.
It's also... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I kind of disagree with that because I feel like Forest is one of the only decks in the foreseeable meta that like can make like 4 or 5 guys the turn before this comes down. So it kind of goes to the Skaz's point where it's like it doesn't affect the opponent's board at all. So like
I think that's what I like about it is that like, if you don't have another way to answer the Ancient Elf, whatever, a 6/6 is like a pretty good thing. And then they have to have obviously the Rose Gardener or whatever.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that like if you play this, they have 2 or 3 things, and then they play down like a Lily or Rose Gardener, bounce it, and swing like 10 at you. You're probably losing that game.
Yeah, I think this is not a card that answers a board with like that level of things on it. I think if your opponent has like 2 to 3 medium threats in play in Shadowverse in general, I don't think you can ever answer like if your opponent has a 4/4 and a 3/3, and your answer is put a big ward into play. That's very rarely going to work just in this game in general.
It also at 5 mana, it's not like you can do a lot of turns where it's like, oh, I'll put down a couple of things and then also play my board buff. Like this thing's 5 mana, it's taking up most of your mana. You have to have something that's staying on the board from the previous turn, probably. And this game, that doesn't happen very often. I'm pretty low on this card personally.
It pumps Mage of Nightfall, dude. Come on.
That's true. Assuming it doesn't get Angel of Darkness, of course.
All right.
I think this card's exactly at the threshold where it's not embarrassing to play.
Yeah, sure. I could agree with that.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be embarrassing for my opponents.
Until you lose to it, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be embarrassing for Russia when he like loses a win-in because his opponent put everything out of conflag range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, Magic Owl, 1 mana, 1/1 rush, fanfare and last words. Discard a spell card from hand. Draw a card.
All right. Best card. Yes, it is.
You guys are gonna get the fuck out of this card.
We're guessing.
This
This
card
is
is
your
the best
extra
rune card in the
penguin.
set. This is better than Penguin.
It doesn't take an Evo slot. It's like Penguin. You can immediately remove it from the board if you want to. Dude, imagine hitting your opponent for 1 onto their bell ringer. Scary. On turn 1,
Dude,
busted.
I fucking love this card. Like, this card's nuts. It's I think one of the things that lets Chimera consistently turn 8 because it just turbos you so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hot take is this is the best rune card in the set, unironically. Like, this
Yeah,
card's insane.
I'm
I
in that
agree.
same boat with you as well.
I think I really value high power enablers, and that's exactly what this is.
And it's such a low cost too. Like, it's just asking 1 mana and you're getting two spells in the yard. You're drawing 2 cards, and like, I mean, let's not even talk about the fact that it also deals 1 damage to something, probably. Like,
if you've ever killed like a 2/1
insane.
with this card, it just is so sweet.
And you also say it adds 2 spells to the yard. Actually, it adds 3 because itself is going to be a spell when you play Daria anyway.
That's true.
But
That's true. And if you hit any, like, let's not mention that if you hit any, like, Trail of Lights or whatever, like, this is also enabling for that. It's a pretty easy discard outlet. Like, this card's just.
I think it's the best bronze for sure, and probably the best card in Rune this set. But I feel like Precious over here seething with telling us how wrong we are.
No, I don't. I mean, it's more like if you guys think it's that good, y'all got. I don't know. I think that. I don't know. I think the reason I don't like this card is just like I think it's just too much stuff going on in the deck. Like, you have to discard a spell card, and you're talking about every card we've talked about that except Chain of Calling that we're talking about putting in Giant Chimera is a follower.
Yeah, but there's other sets.
Well, but what I'm saying is that the ratio of the spells and followers is. I don't know. I don't think there's any way this card is better than Penguin. Maybe it's like a 4th, 5th, and 6th Penguin, but
I think you make a fair point there, which is something I was going to bring up about this card, which is once we stop talking about how it's the best card ever, it is a strict requirement that it's a spell, and it's part of the reason why, even though you have Daria in the deck, you still need a high spell count because you have spell chain cards, you have this, so you have to be selective, right? Like, you can't just jam 3 Witch's Owl, 3 Crags, 3 Mr. Heinlands, right? You have to actually be really strategic about where you're investing those slots. And I think this is, of all the followers, the card, after you get past Agnes and Merlin and Daria, this is the card that demands its slot the most. Like, it shows up the most for the slot you give it.
What I really like about this card too is that there are weird, awkward turns where you'll just have 1 play point left over because you were forced to Merlin or something and just have something left over. This lets you finish out playing your play points for the turn and get some kind of value out of it. I like turns where I'm like, Merlin, search for Trail of Light, play this. Yeah, it just feels very good. That's how I feel about it, at least.
Also, I just want to kind of point out that it is kind of true that we are discussing everything within the frame of Chimera. Chimera is not going to be the only deck in the future. Like, this card is going to exist in the future. This card will be playable for
a long time.
I would assume an extremely long time. I would be shocked if this card was not still played today in some sort of deck that cares about spells, which is kind of Rune's whole gimmick. So I don't know. I don't see how this card isn't just insane even long term.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, next card here, Starseer's Telescope, a 0-cost amulet that has stack and fanfare. Look at the top card of your deck. So one thing I'm going to say is I'm not a fan of when people, or not people, but when games or designers make cards that cost 0, because even if they look like they suck, at some point in the future, something's going to happen, and this card is going to enable something really broken, and because it costs 0, it's going to be broken. But right now, I feel like this card is pretty not good at all. But maybe you guys, maybe you guys have a different opinion. Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into card design, game design stuff, but it's funny that you bring that up because this card, I do agree with you on that, but this card actually does one of my least favorite card design things, period, which is anytime there's an effect in a board game, a card game, that's just look at the top card of your deck, but you have no agency over that action and it has no effect. I just think it's a waste of space. It's a waste of mental time. You're just like, all right, cool. It doesn't change anything. you have a little bit of information, but the information you gain is not even worth the complexity of putting this on the card. Like I just make it a 0 mana stack that gains life, honestly, from a game design perspective.
But when you can put it at the bottom, it's the best card in the game.
Oh, if this card was Scry 1, oh heck yeah.
Ooh,
I
we
think
gaming.
they had to go with this because they had to find an effect that was the least impactful thing possible, doesn't affect the game state whatsoever, and that like any amount of, even if it was like gain 1, like that would be something. Whereas this is quite literally nothing. I don't think this card's good.
This is
not now.
Every time I look at this card, I just imagine like this is like the crippled version of Sensei's Divine Top.
Yep.
It's just like someone broke the top and this is all they have left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, don't play this card. At least not now.
This card's just a total trap. I mean, the stack cards that you want to play that aren't followers that generate stack are pretty powerful for what the deck wants to do in terms of the gain of life and Gingerbread House and Teachings of Creation to draw a card. If you like, you really want to run 9 of these in your deck, I just don't think you have the slots, even if you really needed the effect.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps up the Rune section of things. We'll be ending this now and going into Dragon, which is next. No. I put
true.
Okay, yeah. And with that being said, thanks everyone for watching, making it this far. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Thank you to Skaz, Shepard, and Pressure as joining me in this fun adventure where we argue about cards and seeing and realizing in a couple of weeks that we are all wrong and stupid. But that'll be fun. All right.
Can't wait for Brick Meta. Let's go.
I'm building
Hell
it
yeah.
tonight. Y'all better test it.
We're testing after this recording, baby.
That's right.
Okay, we'll see you guys in our next video later, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.